By winning game 2, the Celtics have just clinched the NBA Finals. It's over. There's no chance the Mavericks are winning this series. I am waving right now the white flag on my prediction of Mavs in 6 and the Mavericks even making this a competitive finals. Because I think Boston has showed you so far in these 2 games specifically, this Celtics team, compared to previous seasons, they are different. They are a different team and has nothing to do with the talent, I think, because they've always been a talented team. Right? Jason Tatum's always been one of the best players in the NBA for the last few years. Jaylen Brown's always been one of the best two-way players in the NBA the last few years. You know, they've had really good role players and a really solid bench around them in previous years as well. It's not a talent change as to why I think the Celtics are finally breaking through and winning a title for the first time with this core, at least, of Brown and Tatum, will say. What is different with them this year compared to previous years is their mindset. They finally have a championship mindset. Credit to Drew Holiday. He brought that with him. There was not a lot of Celtics that have championship experience throughout the years of Tatum and Brown. Now they finally have that in Drew Holiday to lead them and show them how to finish strong. But it's also, you see it through their best players. They now don't get down. And I think game 2 is the perfect example of this, of how this team is different, because the way we saw game 2 play out, that Celtics team we watched in the past, they lose that game 9 times out of 10. But this team is different because even though everything went against them, they still found a way to win. Like if I told you before the game, these are some of the stats and these are some of the situations that the Celtics would find themselves in this game. Well, you would have Jaylen Brown coming off a really good game, number 1, have 6 turnovers, 0 blocks. If I told you Jason Tatum would be shooting 27% from the field, 6 of 22. If I told you the Celtics' leading scorer in game 2 would be Drew Holiday. If I told you the Celtics as a team would shoot 25% from 3, the Mavericks would get to the foul line more than them, and the Mavericks would shoot at a higher percentage from the field than Boston would, you're telling me what? Ryan, the game's over. The Mavericks are winning. The Mavericks are winning game 2 and making this a series. And I would agree with you. I guaranteed before game 2 the Mavericks would win this game, not even because I knew these numbers were possible, but because watching the Celtics as many times as we have in the postseason before, they were notorious for having a really good, sharp game number 1 and then laying an egg in game 2, making it closer than it should be, and in most times losing a game to an inferior opponent. They have let go of the rope, and they have not matched the desperation of their opponent numerous times, and it's burned them. I thought that would continue again in game number 2 on Sunday. But the Celtics showed you, I think, in this game specifically, why they're different. Because even though this is a classic game in which they usually lose, and how the game went, where they are terrible from 3, and they're, one of their best players is turning the ball over. The other best player can't hit a shot to save his life. The most impactful player from game 1, Kristaps Porzingis, had a ho-hum game and was limping around in the second half. Everything pointed to the Mavericks winning this game. And past history would tell you, that's not a game Boston wins. They're not a gritty team. They're not a team that digs deep when things are not going well to find ways to win. And to the Celtics' credit, they dug deep and found the ugly ways to win tonight. They made their free throws, 19 of 20. Doesn't sound, sexy or great, but when you look at what Dallas did going 16 of 24, those free throws came up huge in this game. They turned the ball over less. Even with Jaylen Brown's 6 turnovers, they still had 5 less turnovers than Dallas did. And late in the game, when it's still a close game, Boston made the unsexy plays. In this case, Derek White getting a massive block on P.J. Washington that essentially won them the game. All plays Boston made on Sunday that previous seasons, previous teams on this stage, they don't make. And that for me is why I'm ready to say this series is over. why the Mavs have no chance to come back from an 0-2 deficit and win the finals. Because in the most Celtics game ever, in which they predictably tried to give the game away, the Mavericks said, no thanks, we don't want it, you take it. And to the Celtics' credit at the end, even though they tried to give it away for most of the game, they took the game back. They made the plays at the end, whether it was offensively or defensively, to make sure they didn't squander a game they normally do squander. This team's mindset is different. Jason Tatum talked about it after the game today. Talked about his poor performance, right? Again, 6 of 22 from the field. Did have 12 assists. He talked about that mindset of Boston being different than previous years. Take a listen.
It has a lot to do with that. I've been here before and we didn't win. And it's just like, we're so close to what we're trying to accomplish. Why would I let my ego or feel my need to score all the points get in the way of that? We always talk about do whatever it takes for however long it takes. And if I need to have 16 potential assists every single night, and that's what puts us in the best position to win, and it doesn't mean I'm the leading scorer, by all means. And, if that gives us the best chance to win, sign me up.
That right there from Jason Tatum is partly why this Celtics team is different. Now, we know him as a scorer. He is a prolific scorer. And we have seen him time and time again on this stage in the postseason and in the finals. When things don't go his way from a shooting perspective, he goes into a hole. He goes into a ditch. That finals against the Warriors comes to mind when he just was terrible for most of it. And he doesn't produce, or doesn't, I should say, contribute to winning if his shots aren't going in. In previous years, he would just feel bad for himself and continue to shoot and probably continue to miss. In this game, despite going 6 of 22 from the field, he contributed 12 assists. He made plays. He was a pass, I don't say pass first because he was still looking for a shot, but when the guy was open, when any Celtics player had a better look than him, he was not shy about having them, take the shot, have them be the hero. It's not just words. We saw it in action. Jason Tatum had a bad shooting night, didn't allow that, though, to impact his playmaking. Still contributed to winning in a big-time way. Jaylen Brown's been the same thing. Jaylen Brown, his credit, has talked a lot this postseason about the Celtics team being different, about their mindset being different, about them not being like previous Celtics teams that would give games away, give series away, and ultimately, despite all their talent, never break through to win a championship. At times this postseason, losing to the Cavs in Game 2, having some close games against the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals, despite not having Tyrese Halliburton on the floor for Indiana. I question that. This game, though, I don't question whatsoever. Jaylen Brown was right when he said this Celtics team is different. And now, up 2-0, again, we've seen this in previous years, a letdown spot maybe for the Celtics where they take their foot off the gas and maybe think they won it too early and not match the desperation level of their opponent. Jaylen Brown with NBA TV immediately after Game 2 was asked by Shaq, hey, you're up 2-0. What's your mindset for Game 3?
Just stay in the moment. You saw it's almost short-term memory. We got to play this series like we down to. We got to go in on the road and take care of business. But it's easy. Just stay in the moment. Just talk to the guys, talk to them through adversity, to stay together, to handle resilience and adversity. That's the most important thing. So I think we'll be ready.
The mental aspect for me is the biggest difference between this Celtics team this year and previous years. They have learned what it takes to win a championship. And when you watch how Game 2 went tonight, how they are able to win that game despite their horrific three-point shooting night. And they are very dependent on shooting the three and making the three. Horrific from three. Their big stars, for the most part, were pretty much invisible, right? It's not like Jaylen Brown did much to stand out or Jason Tatum had an insane shooting night. Kristaps Porzingis, the Game 1 hero, ho-hum game. But they found ways to win, and they found a way on Sunday to win a game. I would say more times than not, they lose. This Celtics team is different. That's the biggest reason why I think they're winning the finals this year, and why the Mavs have no chance of a comeback down 0-2.